Hello, I'm Gavin Horgan, Headmaster of Millfield School in Somerset, the largest co-educational boarding school in the UK. Welcome to the Millfield Way Podcast. Here, you'll hear from teachers, coaches and students from Millfield and Millfield Prep School. Millfield is traditionally different, and this is the Millfield Way.
Hello and welcome to this Millfield Way podcast in conversation with Mark Garaway. My name is Liz Webb and I'm delighted to be joined by the Director of Cricket at Millfield, Mark. Hello, Mark.
Hi.
This is the third time you've been on the Millfield Way podcast, but for those who haven't listened to an episode with you before, please could you briefly tell us about your career and previous roles you've held before joining Millfield?
Yeah, no problem at all. I played cricket a lot when I was young. And I got spotted and ended up having quite an early start to my professional playing career, so around 16 years old. So I was doing my A-levels and being a professional. I certainly wasn't doing a great job at the A-levels, but I was doing an okay job as a professional. And then I played for 10 years, and that was Hampshire, which was a brilliant club to be at. And then the opportunities for me to really kick on and my development just started to stall a bit, and that's when my eye got drawn towards coaching. So I started coaching during my last couple of years of playing, and then the transition happened, so I retired at 26 from playing, which got me on the coaching thing a long time. So effectively I've been coaching over half of my life professionally. So I got onto that and I ran the Hampshire Academy, and I started that up because all of England was just looking at how the ways to develop young players, and the academy system wasn't embedded. So I started that one up, and then Somerset came in and offered me a role that combined that with working with the professional staff, which was a step up. So I moved to Somerset in 2001, and I had a few years there. And over that time, the academy grew really well and was well recognised around the world as being one of the leading ones, which was really nice. The second team that I ran had some success and won some trophies. So I got an opportunity to be the first team coach, and I had a brilliant captain, a guy called Graham Smith, who was South Africa's captain. Mm-hmm. And I'd coached him when he was 17, so it was an easy phone call to have. And he largely, with me on his coattails, ended up winning the T20 Blast competition in 2005. And that really helped put the club on the map, but also it got some attention further up. So I joined the England side at the end of 2005 after doing a little bit of interim stuff, and was with England until 2009, which was a great time. I really enjoyed that and I learned a lot. And then in 2009 I went over to be the performance director over in Cricket Ireland, and we took the side through, the men's team through to the 2011 World Cup, which was really successful for us, including beating England, which was fun. And then really, I'd spent so much time on the road, I wanted to come back and do family things, So I rang Millfield up, and somebody answered the phone and said that there was a role coming up, which I think was an assistant coach's role, £1,000 a month for 6 months. So I said that I'd do that, and I just chucked myself into that really. And I think we got about 4 months in, and then the then director of sport, Graham Moore, so this would have been in 2012, said, would you like to stay on? So there was some sort of role created for me, and it developed over time into what I sit in now.
So much experience there for our students to kind of pick your brains over.
A lot of age.
Two questions from what you said. Was Millfield the first school you phoned up? And what A-levels did you study?
It was the only school I phoned up. One of my things about being at Somerset, my first day at Somerset, I spent there meeting the players. So that's back in 2001. My second day, I got in the car and came to Millfield. And the relationship between Somerset and Millfield at the time wasn't particularly good. There were a lot of really talented players, which included James Hildreth, actually, that was still here at the school at the time. And I met with Mr. Johnson, who was the headmaster at the time, and I met with a brilliant lady called Sue Woods. Mm-hmm. And we quickly cut through what the challenges have been. And ever since then, the relationship between Millfield and Somerset has been excellent, as you've seen through the transition of players into the men's game, but now into the women's game as well. So that was really good. So I sort of walked in here at that time, and I said, one day I want to work here because of the environment, the facilities, the people, just the the feel for the place really resonated with me. So, when I was in Bangalore and we'd just beaten England, and I spoke to my wife and said, let's go home. That was the first phone call that I made. And whilst they didn't hand anything to me, I had to go through an interview process, and there were some other good candidates for that particular role. It was something that I really wanted to give a good go when I got the opportunity to do that. And so, that was 15 years ago.
Lucky for us, you're still here.
Well, yeah, lucky for me as well, because it's been, I've never worked in the same space for such a long period of time, because professional sport doesn't really allow you to do that. So to be somewhere and to, the evolution that we've seen and the things that we've had to work through as a school has just been brilliant to be part of for such a long time.
And A-levels, can you remember?
Yeah, no, not really. A long time ago now, it's 80s, in the 1980s. But my A-levels I started with English, history and geography. I had the most amazing teacher in history. I got an A in GCSE. I was a second year of GCSEs. I got an A in GCSE, which was one of 3 above C. I only got 4 GCSEs. Mm-hmm. But I got an A in his because he brought the subject to life.
Yeah.
Mr. Thatcher, absolute legend of a human being. And then he took me on the A-level journey and we repeated that, but I failed everything else. What he taught me, I think, is if he could capture my attention, then I could be a decent student. But if I didn't have that, then I was too busy looking outside at sports fields, probably.
Has that influenced you, do you think, as a coach?
Yeah, 100%. And if I look at my career, I'm sitting here at the age of, 53 soon. I've not done anything other than sport. But I've been incredibly lucky because I didn't have any career-ending injuries or anything bad when I was playing. And obviously I made an early transition into coaching and got into it at the right time. And I was the new kid on the block, I suppose. And as a consequence of that, I shot up and probably wouldn't go quite so quickly in my career now if I came in there, because it's more of an established sector to work in and there's more competition. So I would never advise anybody to follow the path that I did in terms of my academics, 100%. And that's exactly the messaging that the students get here, and they do it far, far better. A little bit because there's more people like Mr. Thatcher in this school than there was necessarily in my school. But also because I think they get the understanding of balance and how important that is, and how fickle the professional world is now for those that are good enough or have the opportunity to play at that, because you are only an injury away or a loss of form away, and then that ends, and then you've got the rest of your life. But even somebody like Jimmy Anderson, who I was lucky enough to work with a lot with England, he had a 20-odd year international career, but you've still got to do something afterwards. Yeah. And you've still got to have the skills to be able to do that. And it will be fascinating to see where Jimmy goes on that, and whether he finds real fulfillment in that, because you have to do that once you finish playing. And a lot of people really struggle with that, what's next after they finish playing, to find that buzz. But what I find is the ones that have got more depth and perspective and opportunity through their academics actually find that transition a lot easier.
Fascinating. And did you grow up as a cricket fan? Were there any players who inspired you when you were getting into cricket?
Yeah, I was definitely. I mean, I grew up on the side of cricket pitches in the summer and the football pitches in the winter, because my dad was a keen sportsman and a very good sportsman. So yes, is the answer to that. And most of my heroes at the time, I should imagine, were local. They were people that I looked at and went, I want to play sport with those people, so I will practice in order to be able to play with those. So they were local heroes rather than massive heroes. But then a bloke called Ian Botham did some crazy stuff against the Australians in the Ashes in 1981. And all the televisions were 14-inch tellies at the time, but he looked 6'8" on a 14-inch television. And he basically jumped out of the screen and captured not just me, but I think the whole people of my age always talk about that moment, I suppose. So he was my first proper hero. But my local hero was a guy called Jeff Hose on the Isle of Wight, whose son Adam now plays at Worcestershire. He's played at Hampshire and he's played at Somerset and Warwickshire as well. And he was the guy that I used to practice because I wanted to play on the same side as Jeff.
And did you come across Ian in your career? Because he was at Somerset for a bit.
Yeah, so I was very lucky in that I joined Hampshire, and a year later his son Liam joined Hampshire, and we lived together for a number of years. So I've known Ian since I was 17, 18 years old. And he's become a very good friend and confidant for me, actually. And when I was in charge at Somerset, I invited him to be my cricket advisor at Somerset, which he was brilliant and so supportive of me and gave me a lot of confidence. And then obviously in the England stuff, he was commentating. So I used to travel around the world and see him quite frequently. And it's been brilliant to connect with him the last couple of years on a couple of projects that we work on in the summer holidays as well. And, he gives me, I mean, it's surreal. I pinch myself, but he gives me bear hugs and thanks me for being great friend to his kids. And it's just bizarre to think that I used to watch him on television all those years ago and think he was this superhero, which he still is.
And who would you say has been your biggest influence in your coaching career?
My dad, definitely huge. Dad was a head teacher himself. He was a teacher before that, a really good cricket coach. He taught me some great things around coaching. He actually started a number of international, I was the first professional player that he started off, went on to it, but since then a load of international, much better players than me, he coached. And he talked about, very early on in my coaching career, he said the most important person you'll ever coach is a person that's standing in front of you in the moment you're in. And that's something that I try to live to every time that I'm coaching. So part of what we do here is it doesn't matter who walks in through the door of the indoor centre or out onto the cricket pitch. They could be, Caleb Faulkner scoring 100 in the World Cup final. They could be Catherine walking into the cricket centre on the way to golf thinking that the cricket centre's golf and she's fascinated with what we're doing in there. It doesn't matter. It could be Radhika, who I played badminton with on a Wednesday, that also enjoys a cricket. If that person's standing in front of me in that moment, whether it's 10 seconds or an hour, they're the most important person to me. And my team, I think, live that brilliantly.
That's a perfect segue, because I was just about to ask you, who works alongside you in delivering the cricket programme here?
So I've got a core team. So my core team is Tim Simonite, who runs Year 9 and Year 10 boys cricket. He's like my number two, really. He organises all of the fixtures. Tim and myself worked together in Ireland. He was actually my Isle of Wight under-15 captain. So we've known each other since we were 9. And he's a brilliant foil to me, because basically every one of his strengths is every one of my weaknesses. And he's brilliant. So he's a level 3 coach. He's coached internationally with Ireland. He's been to several World Cups with the Ireland teams. So he's really good. I've got Henry Hunt. Henry is a magnificent young coach. He leads our fast bowling programme, but also runs the girls programme, which is such a key element to what we do. When I first got here in 2012, there were 7 girls playing cricket. We've now got an incredible programme where it's not even a girls programme anymore. We just run a cricket programme and the boys and girls completely dovetail together, and it's wonderful. We've got more girl county age representatives than we have boys.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Which we're really pleased about, really proud of. Henry runs that programme magnificently. Then we've got Sam Braid. So Sam works for us and works in the under-15 boys team. He runs a number of the private coaching sessions and oversees that anybody can access, and he does a great job with that. And also supports us with the delivery of some of our squad sessions and one-to-one. So it's nice having that core team. But outside of that, Stephen Jones comes in as our pace bowling consultant. Stephen played with me at Somerset. He's become probably the best bowling coach in the world. He runs his Pace Lab Academy out of the indoor centre at weekends. So he's doing a great job working alongside Henry in that fast bowling programme. We've got Lewis Hatchett, who's our mindset coach. Obviously, psychology is such an important part of any sport, but in particular cricket. Lewis played at Sussex for a number of years, and he's providing a huge amount of insight and strategies for us as coaches, but also for the players. And then we've got our support staff that often go unheralded. Aaron Ryan is one of the best physios I've ever worked with. And that's so important that the kids have that support, and we work in an integrated fashion. We've got James Bevan and Mia in S&C that are just doing some wonderful stuff with the boys and girls. Dan Alcock in nutrition, which is a vital part of it, not just for their sport, but also for their well-being and their academics and so on and so forth. And then obviously your broader group is you have parents, your group tutors, your subject teachers. So they're all part of the team really, but the core ones are Sam and Henry and Tim on a day-to-day basis, but we tap into so many areas.
It's a really good team, and the resources there around our young cricketers to really support them is fantastic. Let's talk a bit about facilities. So we've got incredible cricket pitches here, but we also have an incredible indoor cricket centre, which means you guys can practice all year round, which isn't something you can always do in England with the weather that we have.
Very much so.
Especially the last 2 months. Can you give us an overview of that facility and how it helps support the students' programmes?
When I designed that, I wanted to have a facility that brought the outside in. So most indoor facilities don't replicate the conditions that you're going to play in outdoors. And whilst they're useful, they're not really transferable. So we've got astro grass surfaces that are slightly different across all the lanes because we need to have adaptable cricketers that can bat and bowl on those surfaces.
And did you design the centre?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we worked with a number of people, but one of them being Durant, who are a great company that I've done a lot with in the past. And they really get it. So down to things like the lighting. The lighting's perfect, whereas most indoor centres, you have dark spots where the ball goes in and out of light, which isn't what you use. And I got that idea from the equestrian centre because you don't want horses to be startled by dark to light. So we borrowed the idea of those lights and put them into the indoor centre. We've got those surfaces, which are great. But also we cut the hall up in different ways because nets are very linear. But actually, when you're working with multiple groups or different groups within the same space, you want to be able to have flexible, adaptable spaces to work in. So we have 5 nets. We've got an extra long run-up. We can cut it in half, so we've got fielding going on at the same time as batting. And it just gives us that scope to have boys and girls practicing at the same time. It gives us scope to have, C teams and A teams practicing at the same time in a safe fashion. And it means that we can get a huge amount of work in across all of the facets of the game, not just bowling and batting to each other, which has been absolutely awesome in the development of the cricketers.
And I think that centre was opened in 2019.
Yeah, first week of 2020, actually. We literally opened it and then obviously COVID came.
Yes. And so how have you seen a difference in how students have developed having that centre compared to when we didn't have it before?
So it's the adaptability really, and also the amount of time on task, because before we were borrowing space from everywhere that we could do to be able to do sessions, particularly in lesson times. And our IDP, so anybody who's an county age group player or above, gets to be able to come out of lessons on a rotational basis. Or if you are an academy player or an EPP player, you get to drop a lesson. So that gives us a great amount of time, but it gives us a really cricket-specific area in which to do that. Whereas previously, we'd be on the pool shelf hitting sponge balls, or we'd be on the tennis court hitting tennis balls, or we'd be in an outdoor net when it's snowing, where the ball's skidding off the snow, or we'd be in the Barracuda trying to avoid hitting trampolinists with balls. And that's, those are all brilliant environments, and some of the cricketers developed their ability to be able to adapt through working in those environments. This has just enabled us to reach out and grow the girls' game to numbers that we could have never even anticipated before. It's being able to have more open sessions with recreational participation cricketers that just want to have a go at it and see what it's like. If you haven't got that space, you can't do those things. It enables us to build partnerships with local schools and with the disabilities Lord's Taverners that we have that our kids coach within, and Sam Braid leads brilliantly. So it just gives us some really good scope to do some excellent work. We've got a level 2 coach education course going on starting tomorrow for 4 weeks. We've got 6 of our students and some teachers on that, as well as having members of the public and local clubs coming in and doing their qualifications, which again just broadens that cricket experience. It's not just about cover drives and bowling fast and taking catches.
And we've had some external cricketers coming in to use the facility and other county teams. Can you tell us about that?
So county teams wise, so Somerset basically hire our nets from 6:30 most of the evenings. So from a commercial point of view, that's great. But also from our kids' point of view that are in those squads, it saves them having to travel huge distances to go to squad sessions. So that's really helpful. Somerset men's first team train alongside the kids on Thursday mornings. Gloucestershire first team train alongside the kids on another day in the week. We get the opportunity for some of our more senior players to practice alongside those, but even just having year 9 boys and girls in there at the same time, looking at these players going about their business, gives them a touching point, which we think is magnificent. We have brilliant relationships with some of the world's national governing bodies and the International Cricket Council. So we've got 28 days of international cricket camps at this on our grounds and in the indoor centre between now and the end of June. So we've got England training camp here for the England women. We've got England A playing against New Zealand White Ferns in 4 matches. We've got the West Indies Cricket Board training over here before they play in tournaments over here. And then the ICC themselves have booked out the facilities in the last week of term to prepare 4 international sides for the upcoming T20 World Cup, which starts a week later. So the confidence that they have, not just in our indoor facility, but in our grass surfaces that Craig and his magnificent team curate, is awesome. And you know, for us to be able to bring that type of quality in here is a reflection of the type of facilities that we've got available to us all year round. But also, yeah, the confidence they've got to do that is brilliant.
And in terms of some big names, we had a certain New Zealand cricketer join us at some point last year.
Yeah, so Kane Williamson trained with us. So I did some work with him during Easter, and part of the deal that we worked on with him is that he would be around to support the kids, which he did brilliantly. And Kane's a magnificent human being, and he's a phenomenal player. He's been one of the big 4 for the last 15 years, you know, with Joe Root and Virat Kohli and Steve Smith. And he is local to the area. He married a girl from just down the road. So every time he's in the country, he comes and practices here with proviso that, not that I have to ask him, but he puts a bit in. And we had some great times. Like during East last year, one of our sixth formers, Dan, who started off as an okay cricketer and ended up being a really good one, would come in and practice with him. And on one of the days, Kane was about to fly over to the Pakistan Premier League to go and play here. Yeah. And Dan bowled at him, and they did a fielding session, and they really connected. And then Kane was going, "Oh, cracky, I need to get my beard and my haircut before I go out to Pakistan." And Dan said, "Well, I'm going for a haircut now. Do you want to come with me?" And off they went down to Minsky's, down the bottom of the hill. And then they went for a cup of coffee together. And I mean, yeah, what did you do today as a 17-year-old off spinner? Well, I had my haircut with Kane Williamson and went for coffee with him. And that, you know, which is a great thing. But the messages that he gave, he's done a few Q&As for us. He's done a few practice sessions where he's watched them. He's fed back to players. And to look at somebody like him and Caleb Faulkner work together last year, and then, of course, to be associated with the same county, and the synergy between their games and what they learn. And I've just been doing a session in the centre about a certain shot, and I've coached this shot probably for about 10 years and not had any traction with it whatsoever. And Caleb came along and he does it really well. And then Kane comes along and obviously evidences it because he's one of the best players in the world. And now all of the kids do it. Because they've seen it around them and they just do it, and sometimes they ask themselves why they're doing it, and that's the beauty of having the facilities that draw in people that are world class around you.
Yeah, fantastic. Many of our former cricketers are excelling in the professional game after departing, so you've already mentioned Caleb. Can you tell us which old Millfieldian cricketers we should be looking out for? And how do we support cricketers who are looking to go into professional cricket after leaving school? Yeah,
it's a great question. We've got 14 that start in the county championship year, which is a great number. And obviously now we're beginning to impact the women's game as well as that grows and develops, which is great. So we've got Jess Hazel, who's at Somerset, who's doing some really good things. I think this is going to be a breakthrough year, and I'm really excited about the opportunities that she's got available to her, because I think she's hitting that at exactly the same time as the game is exploding as well. So, you know, typically she's got a brilliant social media account. She's really popular. She's a good keeper, a really good fielder, and a really nice batter. So we're excited about seeing where she goes. And then Caleb, I mean, he's a screaming talent, as he evidenced in the World Cup final. But in fact, all the way through that World Cup, he evidenced, his lowest score was 32, and that was off like 10 balls or something. You know, he impacted every game that he played, and he's definitely got the makings of an incredible player. But then you've got people also like Imam Rao. So Imam Rao, you know, when I met him as a 13-year-old, he was 6'1". And he just kept growing and growing and growing. And his cricket was excellent, but his coordination, his musculature was not going to land, even with everything that we put around. It was not going to land and be finished by the time he met here. He left here. So we helped him to transition. He went off to Australia on part of our transition program to one of the academies, had another 6 months to continue his growth physically and as a cricketer out there. Then we helped him to get up to Loughborough University, where he's been on the program up there. And then everything started to land there from a physical standpoint. So he's beginning to bowl the ball quicker. He's always had it in him, but his body just didn't enable him to.
Yeah.
And it just shows what a late development sport that we're in. And if you have good understanding of that, you don't rush anything. So he got a contract halfway through last year. I think he's 23 now. And I see him when I'm up at Loughborough all the time, and it's just fabulous to see him. And obviously he's been training with Gloucestershire and back in his centre, and he's very, appreciative of everything that went on, and also the pace that we appropriately went about that. And Casey Aldridge, who's just moved up to Durham from Somerset, would be another one like that, because again, he was really tall, and it took a while for that to come. I mean, he got left out of the under-17 side at Somerset, and then kicked in again after an injury. He kicked on again. So it can work in so many different ways. I think the crucial bit is to create time and recognise that somebody might need a little bit longer. Caleb's going to go straight into it, no problem. Archie Vaughan, third to while, didn't look like he was going to go in it, and then his physicality started to land at the right time, and then he goes straight in, and he's done all of his wonderful things that he's done. So it's a different thing, and we need to nurture people through that, and we need to give them those post-school pathways that create the time for all of their ability to come through.
And I expect that's hard for them when everyone's developing at different rates, as you say, and you don't know when it's going to happen, and they see certain people doing it now whilst they're still at school or just leaving, and then they're not. So how do you work with them to get through that?
Well, you use science. Ultimately, you fall back on what we know and what is true. So part of Graham Williams was here, Dr. Graham Williams, for a long time, an absolute expert in adolescent development. So I lent into him and all the things that we learned from the ECB. Obviously, I've got some really good people that I can tap into within the network. So with people like an Aman, that was really important. And Casey, that was really important, because we need to understand that. And I think we do that really well. So Graham used to get their adult heights for the parents. He used to measure their wrists, because the wrist is the best indicator of future growth and where people are on it. Okay. So we used to know where everybody was against their adult height and when they were about to go boom in peak height velocity, which meant that we could change their program accordingly. So we had all of that information, which enabled us to make some really informed interventions, and also to stop them at the right time when they might be vulnerable to injury or might be vulnerable. So for example, they become mal-coordinated when they start to go through. We have to accept that. So they're not going to catch the ball quite so well, or they're not going to time the ball so well. So we need to be tolerant of that. And those sort of things have helped us, I think, to support players differently.
And so last summer, we hosted the first ever Apex Cricket Festival on campus. Can you tell us a bit about how the festival went and what it was all about? And are there any changes in store for this year?
Yeah, so the concept of it is slightly different to a normal festival where you just come and play. And there's two young lads that I've known since they were very small. And they've both been through Pathway Cricket and Pathway Sport, and felt a bit underwhelmed when they come at the end of it, when they haven't got a professional contract, which, let's be honest, is most people that enter it.
Yeah, it's hard.
And they felt as if they hadn't quite got the learnings out of their journey that they should have done. So that what they came to myself and another couple of people and said was, can we develop a festival where actually it's about making friends and playing great cricket and being coached and having access to well-being things, and also linking it up with companies that might be interested in some of these players post-school or post-university. So we start that early discussion between, for example, there's a wealth company that are the key sponsor. They've already offered 4 people opportunities within their companies off of the back of it. So that was the model, which is slightly different to going along to a festival and just playing 5 days of cricket against each other. And I think that it really resonated with me through the work that we've done here for 15 years. It's very holistic. It's very about developing people. So the festival itself is, you come in, you meet people, you actually socialise with people rather than staying away. We have skill sets where everybody gets mixed up. So boys, girls, teams, individuals get mixed up, so you're never with your mates. So you have to learn about people, as well as getting world-class coaching from some unbelievable coaches that we were able to assemble. We had Paul Nixon in wicket-keeping, Josh Shiver in wicket-keeping, outstanding. Jack Purnham, who's one of the best fielding coaches in the world. Will Linton, who I'm working with next week, who's literally the best throwing coach in the world. Mark O'Leary, Max Waller, who's an student coming in talking about leg spin. Esther DeLange talks about finger spin. Chandra Kaul she played 150 times for India. Matthew Maynard played for England and played for Glamorgan, outstanding. Steve Wilson, who used to work here, came in and did some power hitting. Simon Jones, who bowled for England in 2005 as a part of the England setup, so I was involved in, came and did some pace bowling. Outstanding people for them to be around in between the games. So you play games, or you're coaching, or you're having well-being. And the sun shone, and we played some amazing cricket, and the grounds are obviously lend themselves to amazing cricket. And so everybody had a fabulous time. Everybody learnt shed loads. All of the teams are looking to come back. We've got other teams that want to be there, so we're already booked up and gone beyond for next year. One of the graduates from first year has just made her West Indies international debut and will be back here playing at Millfield as part of that team at a training for the T20 World Cup.
Oh, wow.
In 1 year.
Yeah.
And she was, you could tell, a bit like Caleb, was a screaming talent. And I think I did some work with her and I just went, wow, this is what you do and this is why you do and this is it. You're going to play. And it's just gone viral because it was so obvious.
Yeah.
And she played, 2 weeks ago, she played her first T20 and she'll be back over here, which is really exciting. So it couldn't have really gone better. We had great weather, which is always helpful. But just the way that it knitted together and the adaptations that we're making for this year is just to do more of the skills coaching because the feedback was so strong, not just from the players themselves, but also the coaches some had come from Namibia, South Africa, and they'd never seen anything like it and they just wanted a lot more of that out.
And does that involve some of our students? Do they play?
Yeah, so we've got 2 teams. We've got a girls' team and a boys' team that play in that, which is great. We've got our leaders, our young leaders of the team, the Kirsten supports. Yeah. They come along and they are volunteers within that. We have some of our umpires that we develop, junior umpires, so Scarlett Hale, for example, umpired within that. So we try and knit it all together, recognising that when they spoke to me, it just sounded like what we do here within our cricket club at Millfield, and we wanted to extend that to other teams.
And so 15 years here, this is going to be a really hard question. Do you have one highlight from your time here?
Well, there's 2 reasons for that, and I think I might have said this before, but I don't really look back hugely. My mind is, I'd say probably in the future a bit more than it is in the present, to be honest, but I don't really look back. The things that I'm most, I suppose, proud of, and I only think about it when you've asked that question, is just the cricket club nature of it. That's the bit that I love, because really good cricket clubs or really good sports clubs are fabulous at looking after everybody, whether you end up playing 150 times for the country or whether you end up playing in the third team for the whole of your life. And that is what we've tried to do here. We're excellent at helping people move on to their next level, whatever that may be. And also, we're really good at finding different niches within the sport that they can focus on. So we've got a great example, and he's a good player, this one lad. So I'm working with a lad called Woody. He's done it on his EPQ. He's really into his performance analysis, and he's great at building apps to do that. So we're working together on that at the moment. He's doing some fabulous work. He's also a really good leg spinner, a really nice batter that's going to play in our sides over the course of his journey. He's in year 11 at the moment, but he'll end up playing loads of Mayors 11. But if you ask me to put my house on which part of the game he's going to impact, he's going to be a magnificent captain somewhere. He's going to be a really nice player. He'll be a great coach. But also, the world's probably going to benefit from his sort of performance analysis brain. And I can see him making some really great strides in that. And the sport is such a broad industry now. It's wrong just to think about a cricket programme at a school, for me, just being about whether people end up playing first-class cricket.
So actually, let's talk about the academic side of being at Millfield. How do we make sure that academics is front and centre? There's a lot of sport going on here all the time, but that does not mean at all that academics is on the sidelines. It's absolutely not, and we make sure that it's really important. How do you support cricketers who want to train and want to do as well as they can, but also need to get that academic side as good as possible? Well,
going back to our story at the beginning about how rubbish I was doing exactly that at school, I think I've reverse engineered off of that a little bit. And with the support of the school, recognising that if you come here for sport, let alone for cricket, There are so many opportunities for you, but with opportunity comes privilege, and privilege needs responsibility underneath it. And the responsibility for me is, do you stay on top of your academics? If you have a period of time, so Dexter Trigo, I'll go back on that. Dexter is going out with the Gloucestershire first team tomorrow for 14 days to South Africa. So this is a boy that came here on a football scholarship and had a really horrible injury. It was potentially career-ending. And he's worked so hard with our team and Gloucestershire's team to get himself back together. Hadn't played a game of cricket for 16 months. Went out to Sri Lanka and played a few weeks ago after training with us. Did really well, and Gloucestershire have now asked him to go. So he's going to be out of the classroom for 14 days at a time within his course where there's an assignment going on, which is huge.
And that'll lead straight into the Easter holidays as well.
Definitely. So that is the challenge, but the reality is you can prime for that as best as you can. You can work with your teachers, you work with your, Emma in Butley has been absolutely magnificent at coordinating that. His teachers and his subject teachers have been excellent. We've got a liaison within the Gloucestershire setup that's now linked up to everybody. So when they finish training, he'll be straight into his books and straight into his assignment, and there's coordination on that. And the world's a small place now, isn't it, when it comes to technology to enable that to happen. So those sort of things in place, but all of the students understand and all of the parents understand, in order to take advantage of these opportunities, which are privileges, there's a responsibility to get your work done, to be really polite, to be a role model around the school and live by the school values. And it's something that I'm unrelenting on, and everybody knows that.
Oh, I can imagine you are. And so also here, there's so many opportunity to do different sports. How do you support athletes who are perhaps multi-sporters and don't just play cricket, they might play hockey as well? Those things go quite well together, or do lots of other things around the school. How do they manage their time?
So as I said earlier, we're a late development sport, late specialisation sport. So everybody at the school is a multi-sportsman, sports lady who plays cricket. There's nobody who's not. Okay. So we don't schedule anything that conflicts with training sessions for rugby, football, netball, and all of the opportunities. And this is really important within the girls' cricket game, because whilst we've accelerated as a pathway in cricket, also rugby and football have accelerated as well. So we've got so many of our, particularly in our year 9, year 10s, that are playing rugby and football as well. We need to create a space for that. We need to create a space not just for them to be able to do it, but also to recover, also to squeeze in everything else that they do. So that's a really important thing. So we stay out of the firing line to create those spaces, and we create times with the facility that we talked about earlier, which enables them to do that. But also, autonomy is such an important part of self-determination, and we want people to have agency over what they do. So none of the sessions that we do at Millfield are obligatory. They have autonomy to be there or not. So they sign up, and if they sign up and something comes along, then they have to tell us, so we can then release somebody else into that opportunity. Yeah. And this, again, it's all part of that, developing the life skills for the transition into adult life.
And communication, and just being on top of things, and organisation, all really
and
good skills.
Year 9s come in and they're young, they're really young, aren't they? And some of them are really young in their year groups. Yeah. By the time they transition to year 10, they've got more adult communication strategies than I had probably when I was in my mid-20s. But because we make such a thing of it, they get so good at it. And I'm always astounded. I said the other day to Mr. Watling, we were at the coffee machine, and I said, we've got some great kids. And they really are, because they're young people with adult skills at very, very young ages. And it's something that we try and develop.
And so, final question. What would be your 3 main takeaways about Millfield Cricket for our listeners, if they don't remember anything of what you've just talked about? But I'm sure they will, because it's all been amazingly interesting. If there's 3 things, what do you want them to remember?
I think that we're a cricket club, and we're a cricket club that has a sense of belonging, and that belonging is not exclusive to somebody who can hit the ball really hard or bowl really fast. It's for anybody that comes in, and I think there are easy things to say, but they're not easy things to do, but we do it. That's what we're all about. So, come along and you'll feel like you've got a sense of the belonging. Come along and you'll develop your agency and your autonomy, and come along and you'll develop your competency, and all of those things will prepare you for adult life.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. It's been amazing. I've learnt a lot. And being your third time on here, I think there's always new things to talk about. There's always new students going on to do amazing things. So thank you so much for your time.
Pleasure.
Thank you very much. You've been listening to Liz Webb in conversation with Mark Garaway. Thank you and goodbye.